Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers, best bet, or daily package for only $2.
Welcome to Wager Talk Today. Teddy covers the Prez. Steve Merril today, Teddy. Love having him on. He reminds me of you. The way the two of you break down games, I can't wait to hear him. A couple of college, one NFL game, but let's get right to Monday Night Football. Lead story. My 5% play was on the under, and I'll tell you, brother, there were moments where I was losing my shit. But that's normal for me. I'll give you my take on the game, specifically the Chicago Bears, but did you watch? Did you enjoy? Did you win? Did you cash?
So I had no action on the game. And I wanted to talk today at the Open, Prez, a little bit about mental health. You talked on Sunday about smashing your TV. You know, you had a moment and you smashed your TV. I had a bad day on Sunday too. I had a bad weekend. And when I have a bad weekend, the one thing that I don't, number one is I'm not forcing anything on Monday night. And number two is sometimes you just need you know what I did last night instead of watching the game? I passed out. I slept from about 3 till about 10. I woke up for an hour and went right back to bed. I feel refreshed. I feel ready. But I didn't see the game last night. So then you're scrambling. What do you do when you don't watch the game? Especially Monday Night Football game. Everyone's got to talk about it. You got to go through the play-by-play like a hawk. See if you can assess what happened in the game. Ask someone, hey, was that Foles interception in the end zone? Was that a bad pass on second down? Or was it, was someone made a great play? You try to find out the nuances of what you missed. So I didn't see any of it last night, Prez. I slept right through it. I needed a mental health day, and that's basically what it comes down to. How about you?
Well, I didn't sleep. I watched the game, pacing, freaking out. Teddy, I sent out in Twitter yesterday, and this is no lie, no hyperbole. Yesterday was my biggest sales day ever, Teddy. I put up that play last Tuesday for $9. Dude, I was losing my mind. I mean, it was under all the weight from start to finish, but you know this stuff, what happens, man. A pick six here, prevent defense there. But really, what I want to talk about is the Chicago Bears offense. Look, we know it's bad. We've seen Trubisky. We've seen Nick Foles. Neither of them are, quality quarterbacks able to move the teams up and down the field. But I want to give a negative shout out to the offensive coordinator. I know you didn't watch the game, but I'm telling you, man, when you watch what the Rams are doing offensively with the rollouts and the screens, they've got this new technique where they're staying in the huddle until the 7-second mark on the play clock, and then they're running to the line of scrimmage and snapping the ball, not allowing the defense to make an adjustment. Then you're watching what Green Bay is doing and what Kansas City is doing. The Chicago offensive coordinator is freaking clueless. Like, I literally blame Matt Nagy and his staff because they don't know what the hell they are doing. They are running when they should pass. They are passing when they should run. They aren't running. All of their formations look like it was 10 years ago. There's no movement in the backfield. There's no setup trickeries. There's no slants. They aren't stretching the field. They aren't bringing the linebackers up when they need to bring the linebackers up. They're not setting plays up for, where they're bringing, running and bringing the linebackers up so the next play they can sneak the tight end behind, or playing that quick out to the right side to bring the DB up to play honest so that they could then set up a deep pass later. None of this is going on. The Chicago Bears are as bad as they are offensively. because of coaching. And I just wanted to get that off my chest, brother.
I couldn't disagree more. I really couldn't.
You didn't even watch the game.
I know. I've seen the Bears play 4 times already this year, start to finish. Okay. Last night's game is not going to impact. And last night's game, they're playing against an elite defensive line where the game plan has to be get the ball out of the QB's hands quickly, however you do it.
Fine.
The problem with the Bears offense, okay, when we talk about Matt Nagy and Sean McVay, these are 2 of the quote-unquote brightest offensive minds in the NFL. All right. The difference is McVay has the personnel to run his offense. Nagy doesn't. The Bears' biggest issue, obviously their quarterback play is going to be mediocre no matter what happens. But their biggest issue is on the offensive line. When your offensive line can't protect, your creative play calling disappears completely. Because it's all about how to get the ball out of the QB's hand.
Teddy, if your offensive line can't protect and Aaron Donald is killing you, how about a whole lot of screen passes? How about some rollouts? How about some tight end underneath and a running back underneath and a wide receiver crossing the field, giving 3 options to a rolling quarterback? None of this is happening, Teddy. There are ways to get around bad offensive lines. There are ways to get around bad quarterbacks. Ask Brian Billick. He has a Super Bowl. Ask Joe Gibbs. There are ways to get around bad quarterbacking. Thank you, Michael, for agreeing with me. I'm not listening to you anymore, Teddy. Just want to welcome
comment. I got a last comment. This is my last comment. The Bears are 5-2. The Rams are 5-2. End of comment.
Okay. Congratulations. That is some deep stuff. Deep thoughts from Teddy Covers. I want to welcome everybody in, and I love that a bunch of you guys are always there waiting for us. Some nice new names. Michael Ervelina, nice to see you. Drew Martinez, nice to have you with us. Lauren Williams, I know you won your bet last night. Congratulations. Ford Truckman, Johnny Outlaw, Gene Montoya, Alvin Smith, Craig Speck. We love you all, but we love Steve Merril. Let's bring him in. Steve, you want to wade in on this Chicago Bears thing?
I had the under last night, so a lack of a quarterback in an offense was a good thing for me with Chicago. I'll tell you what, guys, it's hard to play unders in the modern NFL, but Chicago makes it, I don't want to say easy, but makes it doable.
Yeah, my 5% play was on the under last night, Steve. And Teddy, Steve's on a monster run right now. 6-1 football run, 7-1 all sports run, brother. You haven't lost one play in 8. Congratulations. You're really seeing it. It's what we do for a living is so great when you're on a run, hey?
Oh, no question, especially when it's a good Saturday night and Sunday in college and pro football. And I threw the baseball winner in Sunday night as well with the Dodgers. In fact, the only loss in baseball I've had the last few games was the under in Game 4 on Friday night. 1 strike away from cashing that, and they hit the solar home run. So it'd be an even better run, but we'll take what we can get, and it evens out in the long run. The tough losses, the near wins, but then those easy wins are where you make your money long term.
I was on that under as well. Let's get to it. We're going to take apart 3 games today. Minnesota at Maryland, Rutgers with a big win, playing Indiana with a big win, and the Seahawks 49ers game, which is just going to be awesome. Absolutely. Oh, I can't wait for that game. Let's start at Minnesota, minus 19.5. How are we going to do this one? What should we bet?
Well, the Big Ten started last week, Prez, and a lot of people were asking me, how do I bet the Big Ten? They haven't played all season. I'm like, well, first of all, it's the same way you bet all the games back in week 1 of September when none of those teams had played. It's the same week same the way you bet week 1 every year in the college football because there's never a preseason. The difference this year, though, is there has been less practice times for these teams. And as we've seen, there's definitely been less contact. I still think back to that BYU-Navy, that Monday night game back in early September where Navy just couldn't tackle. And the coach comes out afterwards and says, we just weren't hitting in practice. So I took the same approach last week, and it worked well for me. I had 2 best bets in the Big Ten. I had Wisconsin on Friday night, a blowout winner, And then I came back with one of those games that's on that 6-1 football run was Saturday night with Northwestern, 43-3 over Maryland. And what I looked for in both of those games were situations where I really thought one team was just way ahead of the other team. It could dominate and just kind of steamroll forward and not allow a backdoor cover. One game I was looking at, though, and I left off the card, but I did a Wager Talk video last week, was on Minnesota, Michigan. And I did lean towards Minnesota in the video on that game, but I kept it off my card, luckily, for my clients. And Minnesota just did not get off to a good start. They're down 21-10 early. I thought Michigan would start slower offensively with new quarterback, 4 new offensive linemen, but Minnesota's defense just was not there. That was the concern last week. However, I think they get a favorable matchup this week against Maryland, who I just mentioned I went against with Northwestern in that easy 43-3 win on Saturday night. Maryland scored just 3 points. They averaged only 64 total rushing yards, only 200 total offensive yards. Now, Northwestern is a good defensive team, but I think Maryland's got some problems still offensively. I don't think they can just flip a switch. I think this is a good bounce-back setup for Minnesota to get a big win against a team that doesn't have the offense to get the backdoor cover. And by the way, Tagovailoa will be a quarterback this week on Saturday for Maryland. It's his younger brother. We'll see what he can do.
Although both be in play this week. Sorry, Teddy. My bad.
We absolutely saw what Tua's kid brother could do against Northwestern. And I watched that game, okay? You had the right side, and I absolutely had the wrong side in that game. My thought process, Northwestern shouldn't be playing this, laying this type of price. And the fact that Maryland's got 2 QBs ready to go, according to Loxley, and he doesn't want to name his starter until the end, I thought that was a positive. Watching that game 5 minutes in, you realize that Maryland is a cluster. And I don't know that I've seen a team play. There have been some bad games this year. You talked about BYU Navy, where Navy was. I don't know that I've seen a team look worse than Maryland did. Like completely unprepared on both sides of the football. When you see a team that just doesn't show up for week one, do you think the market crashes on them too much? Or are they a team that, hey, let's bet against them at every opportunity we have right now until they get any better?
I think what helps here, Teddy, is the fact that Minnesota's off a bad loss. You know, maybe this line is 24 if Minnesota reverses that result and they blow Michigan out. So I think one of the reasons the setup works here is that Minnesota should be a good team, probably the best quarterback, Tanner Morgan, in the Big Ten, and they're coming off a bad performance. So I think we get under 3 touchdowns at 19.5 versus maybe 3.5 touchdowns had it been a different result in that Michigan game.
Sure, and real quick, Prez, before you jump in,
ahead.
I just want to say that if you watch Tua in that first half, and the whole game, but the first half stood out to me. By the second half, I turned that game off, to be honest. But Tagovailoa wasn't just bad. He had no business starting a college game. He looked lost. The offense had no chance whatsoever against Northwestern. It was like good. If Tua played like that, he would not be starting for the Miami Dolphins this coming weekend. Back to you, Prez. Sorry for cutting off.
All good, brother. Steve, one of the guys was asking in the posting forum, so I'm going off topic quickly. No $2 Tuesday guy up at Sports Memo yet. So let me give everybody a quick heads up. It's $2 Tuesdays at Wager Talk and Sports Memo. Our $2 Tuesday guys at Sports Memo, the plays are going up any minute, and we actually have 2 guys, both brand new to the team, John Ryan and Kevin Browdis. Excited to have them. If you guys are listening, welcome to the Wager Talk Media family. Both $2 Tuesday guys at Sports and at Wager Talk, Kyle freaking Money Bags Anthony. This guy knows MMA like Teddy knows Blazers. Number 1 in the UFC in 2020, 77% return on his money in 2020 in the UFC. And I'm telling you, yeah, I got a man crush on him. Totally admit it. Handsome as shit. I stare into his eyes and get lost. But he is the $2 Tuesday. Head over to wagertalk.com and get down on it. Steve Rutgers, wow. I bet him last week. I cashed. Indiana, wow. Now they play each other, and Rutgers is a 12.5 dog. What do we do?
Yeah, I remember I was doing a show last year, guys, mid-season, some radio shows, and the game we talked about that week on a lot of shows just because it was so crazy was Liberty was over a touchdown favorite at Rutgers last year. You remember that game? And we're like, how far has a Big Ten team fallen that they're over a touchdown home dog to Liberty? Rutgers went out and won that game. Their only other win last year was against UMass, and their only win the year before that was an opener against, I believe, Texas State. So this was the first time last week since mid-2017 that they beat really a legitimate 1A team. And I think that actually was Maryland, guys. Speaking of Maryland once again, Rutgers is better this season. They returned 17 guys, offense and defensively. We saw, as Prez, as you mentioned, what they could do last week, winning outright at Michigan State as a 9-point dog. Indiana, though, coming off the bigger upset win, they beat Penn State, and it was the first time they beat a national opponent, I believe, since 1987. So a top 10 team, that is, since 1987. So that was a huge win. It was an overtime game, 36-35. Little misleading, though, is Penn State held a 488-211 total yard edge, 27-16 first down edge, but Indiana won the turnover battle. So in a game where two teams are coming off big upsets, you could make an argument both might have a letdown. I think Rutgers is more likely to keep the momentum on their home field, and I think this is a dangerous flat spot for Indiana. So the question becomes, is Rutgers capable of keeping this game close or winning? And unlike previous years, as I referenced, I think they are. And that upset win last week at Michigan State gives me some confidence backing them as a good-sized dog this week, and we could definitely be a flat spot for the Indiana Hoosiers.
So what do you make of Schiano coming back to Rutgers? Because my initial thought is, boom, this is going to be a team that you might make some money with. And then they come out last week and pull off the outright upset and are the wise guy favorite. I mean, there was a ton of Rutgers money last week, and it all cashed, obviously. Are you worried about a little bit of a betting bandwagon here for the Scarlet Knights? Because this number came out a notch or two higher than I thought it was going to.
Yeah, the other thing that worries me too, Ted, is I mentioned that, Indiana had a 3-2 turnover edge. Well, Rutgers forced 7 turnovers against Michigan State. So it's pretty hard not to win games when you have a 7-3 turnover edge. So I do think it was a little bit misleading that win. And this line might be a little short. It might not get me to the window on Saturday for that reason. We'll see where it settles. But I think Rutgers definitely could be a team that gets a lot of love this year from the Sharps, especially if they pull another upset this week. But as we talked about in that last Big Ten game, Maryland's not there yet, and I'm not going to count on them just to flip a switch with 6 days of practice to all of a sudden become a good offensive team. I think Rutgers can play. I think they can keep doing what they did last week. And what I do like about what they did last week, they allowed only 50 rushing yards. They held Michigan State to 1.3 yards per carry. Meanwhile, Indiana, now I know they played a much better opponent in Penn State, but they still had trouble defensively. They allowed 250 rushing yards and almost 5 yards a carry. So this is a rare opportunity to get a good-sized home dog that had a substantial rush and defensive edge, at least so far in the first game.
Steve Merril joining us, everybody. Wager Talk today. Coming up on the show, Teddy and I are going to do AFC division odds. And then, of course, Ralph Michaels at the back end of the show. And man, do we love Ralph. Steve, take your time on this game. Let it marinate. It's just going to be a stunning football game, we hope. Seattle -3. God, San Fran wins this game. Arizona wins, and all 4 teams are tied. Teddy, don't know if you know this. All 4 teams in this division are above 500. In going into week 8, it's the first time that has ever happened in the history of the NFL. Here we got the Seahawks -3, a big total of 54. Steve, talk to me. What do we do here?
Well, the first thing that jumped out to me was the line in this game. Obviously, Seattle blows that game on Sunday night against Arizona. They had the lead late, end up losing in OT, 37-34. San Francisco, meanwhile, off back-to-back straight-up underdog wins against the Rams, and then New England last week, 33-6. So I thought this line came a little short based on recent results. Obviously not a full crowd here. Seattle's home field, not what it normally is as far as crowd noise, but I still think the scheduling situation is tough for San Francisco. They've done so much traveling already this year, and they always do every season. In fact, Seattle's right up there with them, normally having to travel the most miles. So that's another reason I think home field makes a difference here. Look at what the 49ers have done so far. In week 2, they had to go play the Jets. They stayed out at the West Virginia Greenbrier and played the Giants in week 3 back at the Meadowlands. So they didn't come all the way back to the West Coast, but they're still on the road for over a week. They had 3 straight home games, and then they had to go all the way to the East Coast to play New England last week. Now they're back all the way to the West Coast, going up to Seattle. Just a lot of travel. And in fact, they're coming off back-to-back straight-up dog wins. I think the setup here is probably better for the Seahawks, especially if this line stays 3 or less. Currently -3, minus $1.15 in a lot of locations. And as you guys know, NFL favorites win by 3 more than any other margin. In fact, NFL favorites win by exactly a field goal about 8 to 9% of the time. So that 3 to 3.5 makes a huge difference. And I would lock the Seahawks in now at -3, -115 if you plan on playing them Sunday afternoon, as this very well could go to 3.5. It just also, if you look at the recent lines, their 49ers are a 2-point home dog to the Rams. Now they're only a 3-point road dog at Seattle just a couple games later.
Yeah, it feels like we've seen a big betting market adjustment for San Francisco over the last couple of weeks, although they've earned it with back-to-back straight-up underdogs wins, including a very impressive showing at New England this past weekend. But we're still talking about a Niner team that's missing, 19 contributors out or on IR right now for San Fran. But Seattle's defense, you say that the Seahawks blew the lead. They did. But Seattle blows leads because they don't have a defense. Can you lay points with a team that's not playing D? Or can you bet on a team off back-to-back wins as dogs, despite the fact they've got 19 guys that are hurt, 19 key contributors that are hurt for that squad? What's your take?
Yeah, the other thing, Teddy, too, is, we'll say, well, maybe the Niners shouldn't have been a 2-point dog to the Rams. I think we would agree on that. Maybe not a 3-point dog in New England. But then again, the 2 games before that, they lost outright as 8-point favorites at home, both games against the Dolphins and Eagles. They beat the Jets and Giants before then. They lost outright as almost a touchdown favorite against Arizona. So the Rams and really only 2 good teams San Francisco's beaten all season. Now, yes, that's happened the last 2 weeks. But we'll see. I do think they have the defensive edge in this game. I agree with you. But Seattle looks as good offensively as anybody right now. Maybe the Packers. A huge quarterback edge. And that's something else, in these short price games, especially in college football, I love to look for a coaching edge. The NFL in these short price games, I'd love to look for a quarterback edge. And I think there's no doubt that Seattle has that with Russell Wilson, who's having as good of a season as anybody in recent history.
Steve, Teddy taught me and all the listeners, you don't take points. What is it? You don't lay points with the worst defense. Is that it, Teddy? What's your motto? See, it never stuck.
Yeah, clearly, and
never
again,
stuck.
As the guy can't stop with posting for him instead of chat. They can't stop with listers. This is a screen. See, we're looking at people. They're watching us. They're our viewers, Lawrence, not our. I know there are people that listen later, but the people involved right now, the people you're talking to, are our viewers, not our listeners. So, and now that I'm making fun of you, I don't even remember what you're talking about. What are you ripping me for?
+3 better defense. Surely you're going to be taking San Fran.
In general, I will not lay more than a field goal with the weaker defense. At 3, you can back the weaker defense. More than a field goal, I don't like to play favorites that can't get stops.
Steve, I've been high on Seattle since day one. I literally week 1, I rolled them and smoked them and haven't stopped since. With that said, I'm leaning on San Fran here. My gut is telling me that their defense, albeit banged up, are a very fast defense, which matches up well against Seattle. I think we're going to see a little bit of a regression with Seattle. Their defense was so bad. San Fran, I think, is just going to tire them out. Run, throw to Kittle all day long. Are you going to actually bet Seattle, or is this a lean?
Yeah, I'll be honest, guys. All these games on Tuesday are leans for me because I've got a lot of work to do still. I want to see where the lines settle. But what I look for, just to give a background on my handicapping process on Monday night when I was going over these games yesterday, I look for situational setups. And as we talked about in those 2 Big Ten games, I thought both had interesting setups. Obviously Indiana off the big upset win, laying points. Minnesota off the bad performance against a Maryland team I watched and went against. I knew couldn't just flip a switch. This was the NFL game that jumped out me from a situational angle, and that's because, as we talked about, the 49ers are off the back-to-back straight-up underdog wins. Seahawks get their first loss of the season, the game they very well could have won, probably should have won. So this was a game that jumped out to me, and then the line is sitting on that key number of 3. So it's interesting that Teddy mentioned, at 3 or less, he's also okay back in the weaker defense. It's currently 3 -15 in a lot of locations. So this will depend where the number comes. I wouldn't necessarily disagree with you at 3.5 or more, Prez. At that point, it's a different ball game. One thing I will point out about the run defense, though, Seattle's been okay against the run. Just 4 yards allowed, 100 yards, 110 yards rushing allowed. Their pass defense is where the problem's been. And as I mentioned earlier, I think Seattle holds a substantial quarterback edge. So San Francisco is going to have to beat them through the air, and I'm not so convinced they can do so.
He's Steve Merril, brother. Thank you so much for joining us. Just want to apologize to all the listeners who download the show on their podcasts and listen and not view. Get out of here, Steve. Teddy will be right back with your bad beat stories.
First-time customers at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com receive $25 in wager bucks after your first initial purchase. All you have to do is sign up, make your purchase, and you'll get $25 in credit.
Welcome back to WagerTalk Today. Time for bad beats, bad bets, and bad for the books from last night. And look, it was a light night in betting action. One game, Monday Night Football, and the books lost on the side and the books lost on the total. Money came for the Rams, money came for the under, and neither was a good result for the house. One of the, if not the worst NFL weekend for the books this past Sunday/Monday. You talk to any bookmaker in town, their butt's a little sore on Tuesday morning. That's the only game from last night, so that's all we have for bad beats, bad bets, bad books. I do want to talk for a minute about some of the big bets that we're seeing. And all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, it's been going on in recent years, but all of a sudden there's a bunch of reporters out there on Sunday mornings who are like, someone bet $50,000 on this, and someone bet $8,600 to win $8.60 on Clemson. And we're hearing all of these reports about big bets. As a bettor, you need to be aware the biggest bets are not going to be the ones you hear about in the media. The best bettors are never going to let their bets be publicized. And anything that you're seeing in the mainstream media or the mainstream gambling media about big bets is designed to make the sports books look, there's a partnership between the sports books and the writers. And not a partnership where the sports books are giving the writers money or back, but it's a mutually beneficial situation. So the reporter gets the leaks, and then they publicize the sports book, and then the sports book gives the reporter the tip next time, et cetera, et cetera. Recognize that all of this big bet news is fluff. None of it is meaningful in any way. And the actually successful big bettors, they're not publicizing their bets. They're not making a giant bet at one sports book. They'll make 100 bets at 100 sports books. That's the way they do it. What you're reading with the big bet stuff is designed to get you clicks. And it's doing that. It's getting clicks. It will not help you in any way with your handicapping or your betting. Back to you, Prez.
Yeah, that's such a great point. Stop chasing where you think the money might be. Teddy, lots of guys in the chat room, 352 guys, 63 likes. We had a thumbs down when the show started. My only guess, they logged on, they thought of me, and it immediately forced them to give a thumbs down. Just the mere thought of the Prez.
You caught me, Lawrence. You got me.
What?
Guilty. What? I said guilty.
Oh, that was
you. Caught me.
Yeah.
No.
I well said. We got some guys in the chat room, posting room, viewers that are demanding Prez jokes. I can't do jokes on demand. How about this joke? Ready? You know, a woman has never taken men's pants off before when she goes like this. It's out first, then down.
We know.
Okay. Failed.
I know.
Failed. But did you at least get it?
Well, yeah, but it's like, I've been married for a long time now, dude. There's no one taking down my pants new. And there's no one taking down my pants at all. So it's been a while. But yes, No one wants to get zipped.
Teddy, at some point in the next couple of weeks, I got to tell you, I swear to God, it's one of the greatest stories you'll ever hear. I got to tell you, I went and did an amateur night when I was about 22 as a stand-up comedian. I did a 5-minute amateur night set. I have to tell you that story at some point. I was booed off the stage.
I would be confident of that.
What?
I said I would be confident of that.
Yeah, but it's actually one of the greatest stories ever. If I ever do amateur night again, I'm literally just going to get on stage and tell that story. Guys, it's $2 Tuesdays at Wager. Yeah, I know nobody cares, but they do care about this, Joe. It's $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk and Sports Memo. Kyle Anthony is the $2 Tuesday UFC. He is incredible. Make sure, guys, like seriously, $2 for a Kyle Anthony play, pure money. And over at Sports Memo, 2 new guys just joined the WagerTalk family. John Ryan and Kevin Browdis, we're thrilled to have you. Each are $2 over at Sports Memo. Check that out. I want to give a shout out to everybody who is with us today. Elliot, we know how much you love Kelly. I will make sure she knows too. Ford Truckman, Sammy, 17, Johnny, Vincent, Lauren, Big Sky, Jim Tepe, N.O. France with a really funny joke. Elliot gets on and says, I need Kelly to acknowledge me, and Trance writes, Elliot, she's here now getting dressed. That's not bad. That's not bad. I give him a 4 out of 10. Teddy, AFC predictions. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk about, we've got the 4 divisions. We went through the NFC divisions yesterday. And today, of course, we have no Dave Sharp. And unfortunately, Dave traveling today. We'll give him the day off. He'll be back again as normal next Tuesday. But he was at a volleyball tournament with his daughters and was complaining about East Coast time, which I don't blame him. Pacific time, the best for sports bettors. So we thought we'd go through today, since we did NFC yesterday, some of the AFC divisions. Well, all 4 of the AFC divisions. Let's start in the East, where in my mind, Prez, there's maybe there is another bet to make. Buffalo is minus 400. No one's going to beat the Bills. But if someone's going to beat the Bills, the Patriots plus 500, the Dolphins plus 650, and the Jets, if they win the division, you can get 500 to 1. I'll give you 510 to 1. You want to make any of your bets, Jets bets? I'll book them. Only kidding. But the Jets obviously aren't going to win the division. The question is, would you rather lay $4 with Buffalo? You have one bet to make. Lay $4 with the Bills or take a shot with New England or Miami. And I'll tell you what, the Bills have looked vulnerable. Are you interested in the Dolphins at that plus 650 price? If Tua is good, is Miami live in this division?
No. And you know what? I think of all the bets, I think this might be the one that is worth making. I'm actually getting minus 375 at one of my outs. And, we learned from Gianni. He came on Thursday. Khabib was like minus 300 or something, and he wasn't fearful of betting that type of money. You're getting, 33% return on your money. And if you can do that over a 6-month period, that's outstanding. I think Miami making the change to Tua. I think, look, this guy might be lights out, but I think it's a clear sign that they are playing for the future. I love Buffalo, and I know they've had 3 mediocre games at best, but I think Buffalo minus 375, minus 400 is a legit bet and one worth taking a deep dive in. Would you bet? Which one would you go with?
Miami's the one I would go with. Look, the Bills haven't looked good. 3 straight games, the Bills haven't looked good. All right. They really, on either side of the football, they've struggled. Miami's a 500 team right now, and maybe, just maybe, they get an upgrade at the QB position. If they beat LA this week, you're not going to get the Dolphins at this price anymore. If they beat LA this week. So right now, if I'm making a bet, it could only be Miami at that price. And say, maybe we get a Tua bump. Everyone's saying, they're playing for the future. They're live for a playoff spot. It's interesting to see. My gut reaction was downgrade the Dolphins. the more I'm reading, the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm like, I'm going to go with my previous Miami power rating and assume no downgrade from Fitzpatrick to Tua, and maybe they'll even be better. Let's talk AFC South, or no, AFC North coming up next. And this is basically the markets are saying it's a two-team race. The Ravens minus 125, the Steelers plus 115. And by the way, these are numbers from William Hill. You can obviously find, as Prez just talked about, significant sometimes variance from one book to the next. We posted the William Hill numbers because those are the ones I had in front of me. But they're certainly they're reflective of the market as a whole. Ravens minus 125, Steelers plus 115. You can get the Browns 11-1 to win the division. You can get the Bengals at 500-1 to win the division. Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cleveland, Cincy. Who do you like at these prices?
Well, Teddy, I mean, listen, Sunday's game is crucial to this. Pittsburgh's got a leg up on Baltimore right now, but Baltimore beats them here. They control the tiebreaker, at least for now. I mean, a lot still to play, but I'll tell you flat out, the bet that I will not make, and I'm moving Cincinnati. Cincinnati doesn't even count. The bet I will not make is Baltimore. I think this Baltimore team is overrated, flat out. I'll tell you now. I will be on Pittsburgh this week. I'll tell you that right now. It'll be one of my plays that I release to the public. I think Pittsburgh on the money line is a good bet this week. I think they're a better team than Baltimore. I like Pittsburgh in this spot, and I don't mind just a teeny little bit of money on Cleveland, but Baltimore, absolutely not for me. Where are you going?
I'm with you on the Steelers. And I'll tell you this, though. We talked about it on Opening Line Report yesterday with Drew Martin and myself. Of course, you can see that show every Monday. About 10:05 Pacific time, 1:05 on the East Coast. Do it right after we finish Wager Talk today. But we talked about how Pittsburgh was going to take money against Baltimore, and they already have. If you like the Steelers, we have the plus 3.5 now. I'm not even convinced that's going to be there tomorrow. Let's talk AFC South. The Titans minus 210. The Colts plus 160. That surprised me a little bit that there was that much of a differential between Tennessee and Indy, especially given Indy's defensive numbers. I was surprised to see the Titans at higher than 2-1, or higher than 1. You have to lay 2 to win $1, or more than that with Tennessee. Minus 210 for the Titans, plus 160 for the Colts, and then the Texans at 60-1, the Jags at 500-1. I don't think either of the two long shots are live in the AFC South, but I think I don't love Phillip Rivers. I do think the Titans win the division, but again, maybe that thought process is why this line is where it is. I thought both of these teams would be priced a little bit closer to pick them. And I think there may be value with Indy, but I don't want value here. I want the team that's going to win, and I think Tennessee's going to win. So AFC South, I'm not going to get involved. I'm not saying I don't want value, ever, but I'm saying when you got one team, you're trying to pick out of 4, it's not necessarily a value. Value is a piece of the equation. It's not the entirety of the equation. You got to pick the winner. There's all kinds of value on the Jets right now, or the Bengals or the Jaguars. They're not going anywhere. Plenty of value.
Teddy, Carmine has a funny joke, basically to use it in regards to Indianapolis. If you bet $1,000 on Indianapolis to win the division at plus, whatever that number was, plus 160, you win $0. And that's how I feel. No matter, they could be plus $1 million. And if you bet $1,000 on Indianapolis to win that division, you will still win $0. Indianapolis.
If they're plus $1 million, you make that bet because it's so much that it's worth it. At plus 160, maybe not so much.
But flat out, Tennessee by far. Not only that, but again, I'll give it away another pick I'm looking at for this weekend. I like Detroit. I am anti-Phillip Rivers. He needs to go away and raise his harem of children. This Indianapolis team is overrated. Tennessee, look, they almost made an unbelievable comeback against Pittsburgh. And Ralph pointed out how tired they were likely. Missed a field goal to take the game into overtime. This Tennessee team is a good team, and Indianapolis is not a good team. Minus 200, 210 on Tennessee. Bet $1,000, win 500.
A little bit less than, but yes. And of course, there's nothing to talk about.
Can I round numbers? Permission to round numbers?
Yes. I'm just teasing you, Lawrence. Settle down, Beavis. AFC West, there's nothing to talk about. The Chiefs are 20 to 1, or you have to lay 20 to win $1. The Raiders, 11 to 1. The Chargers, 25 to 1. The Broncos, 80 to 1. I guess if I'm going to play one of those teams at the long shot, I take the Chargers, but I'm not taking any of those teams. There's no.
I got a question.
The AFC West.
I got a question about this, Teddy, and it really goes back to the days when Muhammad Ali ruled the heavyweight division. Man, not 30, 40 years ago, there were very wise, very smart bettors who were not shy to take minus 2,000s, minus 1,500s. Today's era, people stay away from that. I mean, is there any possibility that you would consider minus 2,000 on Kansas City good value? Because it's a lock to me, unless some injury happens. And even with an injury, unless it's Mahomes, I can't see them lose.
Okay. This number one is, of all the words you can't say on this, there are no locks. Okay. There are no locks.
And lock. It's funny you say that, because I actually put in the chat room for the viewers that don't use the word lock, and I did. My bad. But you understand my point.
But you're laying 20 to win $1. Okay. It's not a get rich quick scheme. You're laying 20 to win $1. Okay. It's not minus 110. It's minus 2,200. A huge difference. Okay. So you're not going to, you make a big bet to win a very little amount. All right. And then you say, well, what happened? You say, what happens if Patrick Mahomes get hurt? What happens if Patrick Mahomes get hurt? I do not want
they win
with Chad Henne behind quarterback, not for one game. All right.
Oh my God, Chad Henne's their backup quarterback. I didn't even know that. Yeah. That guy's around.
He's alive and well and living in Kansas City.
How old is he?
Not that old.
Well, he's certainly younger than us. Okay, so nothing in that division. What's next?
Big game breakdown.
Okay, I hand it to you.
Well, let's hand it. Let's give Joe a sec to get the graphic up, because it's big game.
I'll flex.
Yeah,
flex.
Please. Yeah, that music just jazzes me up. You're like bam, bam, bam. All right, let's talk big game breakdown. We have our game 6 in the World Series tonight. Let me pull up the current odds right now from the Sports Memo and Wager Talk live odds screen. We're looking at Dodgers anywhere from minus 126 to minus 130. Let's call it minus 130 on the Dodgers right now. Total sitting at 8. So Marco gave you guys client play yesterday on Monday Night Football at 1. Prez giving you guys client plays. I'll give you my client play for this game tonight. I laid the price with the L.A. Dodgers. I think they close out the series. I do not think we get to a game 7. Let's talk about some reasons why. That was a good off day for the Dodgers. They get to reset their bullpen in a real way, which means that every key, I was like, oh, well, Kershaw's not going to play tonight and Buehler's not going to play tonight. Yeah, we know. The Dodgers bullpen is the deepest bullpen in the big leagues, and they have every key arm ready tonight for that bullpen, period. Then Gonsolin got roughed up in his game 2. Roberts isn't using him as an opener tonight. Quote, Tony's a starting pitcher tomorrow. I hope to get 5 or 6 innings. That would be great. I'm going to watch him pitch, and then we'll see how it plays out. You read some of the quotes from Kevin Cash. And again, they're going with Snell tonight. And Snell was dominant for periods in game 2. The Dodgers have mashed lefties. They've mashed them all year. And now it's a short turnaround, second look against a lefty. I think the LA's offense is going to have success in this ballgame. I think they're capable of scoring runs in bunches against Snell or against the bullpen behind him. And when you talk about the impact of that off day, where LA's now the title's in, you say, was that a brutal day for the Dodgers? They've been in this spot. They've almost had a World Series before. The Dodgers are the better of these two teams. We're laying a very reasonable price with LA in a pitching matchup that I think works in their favor. And when you look at these two lineups, again, the Dodgers have scored 4 or more in every game in this World Series. That lineup has not been shut down. Tampa's been held to 3 or less 3 times. I think it happens tonight. I like the Dodgers. I think the price is right. Dodgers close it out in Game 6. That's my take in today's big game breakdown.
Awesome stuff, Teddy Covers. And way to give out one of your plays. That's awesome of you. I'm in play tonight. I'm on a 22-9 MLB baseball playoff run. And you can get it, my play at WagerTalk. I'm not going to be as nice as Teddy. Guys, let's take a quick break. Ralph Michaels coming up.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers, best bet, or daily package for only $2.
He's Teddy Covers. I'm the Prez. You're watching Wager Talk today. Want to give a quick shout out to Gianni the Greek. He's on Thursday's show. 3-0 last night in NFL. 3-0 and only 1 game. He had the under in the first half, and the Los Angeles Rams. So shout out to him. Nice night for only 1 game. Ralph Michaels joining us. You can hear him, me, and Matt Joseph every Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern on the NFL Presidential Address. Ralph, blue pen, blue shirt, looking good. Talk to me, regale us, take the show over, cast a shadow Teddy and I can't compete with.
Well, you know, you guys both have a side in tonight's series. I don't, but I do have a couple of angles just to go over. Again, I will play in the game on the side, but I will... Since October the 13th, the Tampa Bay Rays are 15-2 when they're off a loss by 2 or more runs. Those 2 losses came in back-to-back games about a month and a half ago. And how about this one, Teddy? You know, I thought about the logic after the fact. I went back all the way since 2011. Game 6. You have one team on elimination trying to eke out every run. You have one team sort of stress-free knowing they have another chance at it. Since 2011, Game 6 in the playoffs, 76.5% to the over. 79% have either gone over or pushed in that record. Anomaly, or you think we could squeeze some sense out of it?
So I'm not surprised at all because Game 6 is, when you get to this portion of the World Series, Game 6 is if you throw the kitchen sink. You know, the team that's losing is going to throw everything that they have, which oftentimes means some crazier at-bats and some late runs against sometimes worn-down bullpens. I'm not taking when I was debating as to what I was going to take tonight, it was Dodgers versus over. And I talked myself onto the Dodgers side and off the over side, because of the fact that LA bullpen is set, and because of the fact that Roberts is expecting Gonsolin is not going to be a once through the order. He thinks he's going to be able to get a couple times through the order with this guy. That kept me off the over for this one. I'm not sure Tampa scores a whole lot.
I will just throw out one more note. It usually is a hitter's advantage when they're seeing the same pitchers in that series for the second time. So I'm not sure Gonsolin gets through 4 innings, but Dave Roberts is a major league manager, and I'm not. All right, guys, we're going to our good friend Carm. Carm's on tomorrow, right, guys?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And
okay. Well,
it's due to popular demand.
Well, the friends of Ralph segment here that I put on situational plays are now 3-0-1 between Matt Joseph and Carm.
Nice.
So I'm going to another friend of Ralph play today. I talked to Carm this morning. This game does kick off at 1 p.m. Pacific today. So in about 3 hours, 4 p.m. Eastern today, and it's FC Porto minus 0.75 goals against Olympiacos. Now, if you're new to soccer betting, I'll tell you this. There are some lines in soccer that you're laying a half a goal. There's some lines in soccer where you're laying a full goal. It's like the run line. It's like betting baseball, betting them on the money line and betting them on the run line. So when Carm puts minus 0.75 goals, he wants you to bet half a unit at minus a half a goal, half a unit at minus 1 goal, and you're splitting the two bets. So that's what that 0.75 line means for those new to soccer. So good luck to Carm's play. Again, he's 0-1. Friend of Ralph plays 3-0-1 as we continue those. And the Wager Talk, did you know? Ralph, let's just break down the NFL. Yep, go ahead, Teddy.
Let me jump in. What league is that in?
That's the Champions League. They're in group stages, so it's a huge deal. I mean, it's like the playoffs. This is on CBS Sports All Access online that you can watch it. So yeah, we're to the Champions League with Man United and those teams. These are just two smaller teams from Greece and Portugal that don't get all the fame of all the English teams.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Teddy and guys, sorry, Ralph. Championship League is today and tomorrow. So make sure to check out Carm tomorrow because we're going to go deep into the Championship League. And he is awesome at it. And it's good soccer, and you can check it out on television as well. I mean, it's a massive tournament. Ralph, sorry.
Well, the Wager Talk, did you know? Let's just break down the NFL numbers this week. This past week, home teams went 6-8 straight up, only 6-8 against the spread. Home favorites, 5-2 straight up, only 3-4 ATS. Home dogs, 1-6 straight up, only 3-4 ATS. And, there were some high-scoring games, but, in my database, they had the Tennessee-Pittsburgh game as a push. That means this past week, totals went under again, 6 overs, 7 unders, and 1 push. If you count the Tennessee-Pittsburgh game as an over, then the total split out this week, going 7-7 for the week. Year to date now, home teams only 53 and 51%. We talk about how much is the home advantage worth in this COVID season. Well, the last 5 years, the home team has hit 56.5% with an average line of minus 2.2. This year, the home team 5.5% less. The average line is down a touch at minus 1.7, so there is a half point different, but that does give you the variance, a 51% mark versus a 56.5% mark as we continue to adjust what we give for a home edge as these teams progress. And some teams, like Cleveland and Cincinnati, did up their amounts this week. They went from 6,000 fans to 12,000 fans. Home favorites, 67% straight up, 68% straight up the last 5 years. Those are pretty close. Against the spread, home favorites this year, only 45.3%. Home favorites the previous 5 years, 48%. Home dogs this year, 43.2%, and ATS 47.9%. So basically, guys, we're saying the same things we've been saying. Those home fields we certainly know are worth less than they are. Scoring this year, Teddy, 50.8 points per game. The previous 5 years, average score per game, 45.5. So scoring still up 5.3 points per game versus the previous 5 years.
He's Ralph Michaels. I am the Prez, and you caught me typing into the chat room. Teddy Covers with us. Ralph, awesome to have you, man. Bring it tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern, NFL presidential address. Guys, tomorrow's show, Carmine Bianco with us, Arthur DeCesar, of course, Teddy Covers and Ralph Michaels. Shout out to Steve Merril for joining us today. Shout out to all of you guys. Thank you so much for logging on. We are constantly breaking 100 likes now every show. We're getting 500 viewers minimum. It is a privilege for all three of us to do this every day and for you guys to be here with us. Take us home, baby.
I got nothing to say. You just closed out perfectly. So I'll go like this. Enjoy the games. Good luck. We'll be back again tomorrow on Wager Talk Today.
Only $99 for the gold sheet for the rest of the season? That's right. The Big Ten, Pac-12, and MAC are just getting started. The college football season is going deep into December. We'd like to offer you the rest of the 2020 college football season for only $99. That's right. You get expert analysis, power ratings, stats, and more for both college football and NFL. This $99 special also includes all of the college football bowl games and takes you through the Super Bowl. Just go to www.goldsheet.com/WagerTalk and use the code CFB is back. Add on the Gold Sheet Extra and CKO for the best bang for your buck.